There we go. Lovely. Hopefully everyone can hear okay. Lovely. And just wanted to start out by saying thank you for having me, and I'm really, really excited to be here. Feels like a very long time since I was here last time, so we have an hour. So I thought if there are questions, we could start with the questions and maybe finish the hour with a meditation. It might be nice to do a guided meditation to bring it to a close. So if anyone has any questions or anything you'd like to know more about, find out more about, then I'd like to invite you to ask a question if you have something that you want to discuss. I'm assuming that everyone knows how to raise their hand here, hopefully. Do we have any questions? Okay, we have George.
Hello, Helen, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Good. You know, we just got through watching a Muji recording and this afternoon, and one of the things that Muji was talking about was withdrawing from the world. He was talking to this lady that had a lot of anxiety about the end of the world, about all of the things going on in the world. And Muji suggested withdrawing from the world, from watching news for a few days. Could you address that?
In terms of what? Could you give me a little bit more to work with, George? Could you sort of...
Okay, you know, I mean, the news focuses on what's going wrong with the world for the most part. And so this lady said that she was concerned about climate change, about social injustice, about the COVID, et cetera, all of the things going on with the world. And she felt like that, that within her lifetime, she would see the end of the world.
Okay. It is a time of great turmoil at the moment with what is going on in the world, and to a certain extent, as you said, the news does tend to focus on the more negative aspects of it. It's very, very selective. When I was growing up, we used to have the news at 10 o'clock at night, and there was always at the end of the news this positive story. You know, there was always this one uplifting story that they would put on the end of the rest of the news that evening to kind of finish on a good note. And it is quite noticeable that you know, that very rarely happens. And I think there's a time for withdrawing from that if it is swamping you, if you're struggling with what's going on at the moment, which a lot of beings are, then it can be very helpful to turn away from that temporarily. There's a difference, I feel, between kind of just ignoring what's going on and, you know, putting your head in the sand, or kind of consciously choosing not to expose yourself to something that's going to be painful, you know, where we can do some kind of spiritual work on it. I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to per se, but if we're already in some kind of negative state, if we're feeling some kind of negative emotion, then just to continue to bombard ourselves with it, which it can be these days, you know, then it's a useful thing to. There was a period for myself where I just didn't really tune into the news or anything like that. Only once when once every now and again, just to keep updated, and then I would turn it off. It was not helpful, let's just say. Does that give you something to work with?
Yes, yeah. You know, in my case, I have found myself losing interest in what's going on. And not withdrawing from a standpoint of it's just so horrible, I just can't take it anymore. It's just, I'm not really finding myself as interested in focusing on what's going on in the world as I have been in the past.
And there's a difference, isn't there? Because you can probably hear all the headlines that you need to hear within 2 or 3 minutes, but then the stuff that comes after that is it's not adding any more information. It's usually discussion and analysis and you know, stuff that's gonna not help you to feel better, let's just say. So it's a good idea. It's what's kindest to yourself, really, isn't it? And if it's done consciously, it's a conscious choice to disengage. It's not in ignoring what's going on. It's just, you know, what's kindest for me right now, and is it going to help anyone if I'm kind of swamped and overwhelmed with fear and anger and all those kind of emotions. Yeah. Good, wonderful, thank you. Okay, Ron, I think we have Ron. Yep.
Hey, Helen, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
You're welcome to Awakening Together.
Thank you very much.
One of the things that I have found very helpful, and I never get tired of hearing about it because it seems like it deepens every time, is your approach to what we might call awareness, watching awareness. You know, you have these kind of different approaches that I think give some interesting opportunities for us to explore. And if you wouldn't mind just touching on a couple of those, or maybe how this works for you, I think that many of the people on the call might appreciate that.
Yeah, can you, any aspect in particular? Are you talking about actual sort of meditation or?
Yes.
Okay. So what seemed to be the most important thing for me in my journey was to learn to focus on what's real and what's permanent and what's stable about myself. And we could call it awareness, you know, as you did, Ron, or we could call it silence or stillness or the real self, whatever particular we're calling it. And to bring attention to that awareness, to bring our awareness to the fact that awareness is present, it is going to be the first step in getting in touch with what's real, because it's important to experience what's real about myself as soon as possible. And it's not a theoretical knowledge. So even if we ask the question right now, am I aware? We can start with that question, am I aware right now? And to answer that question, there's got to be a looking and a seeing. So there's a noticing that awareness is present, even to hear these words, to see what you're seeing on the screen right now. You have to be aware of what your eyes are seeing and what your ears are hearing. So, and if you notice that when you answer that question, am I aware? That first, before anything else, there's a looking and a seeing that happens before the mind. There's a recognition of awareness being present, so that it's awareness recognizing awareness in a very, very simple way, a very powerful way. Now, afterwards, your mind may talk, your mind may say, yes, I'm aware. It may sort of verbalize that, form that thought. But before that, there is this presence of awareness. And it really, for me, it really began to shift things, because it became much clearer how simple it was. You know, a lot of the time our mind is making this meditation more complicated than it needs to be, at least mine did. And just to start from that simple place, am I aware? And to notice the awareness is present, that's a noticing, a seeing. Right there, awareness is recognizing itself just like that. And we didn't have to do anything amazing. for that to occur. It's just a recognition that awareness is present, and simply to keep checking in like that. Has anything changed since we first asked that question a few moments ago? Is awareness still present now? And to me, that's the most effective form of meditation, the simplest form of meditation, that is getting right to the root. What is it about me that's permanent and stable? Whichever way that we're accessing that, it's good to immediately recognize it, to notice that it's not going to feel amazing at first. It's just my awareness, isn't it? It just feels like your normal everyday awareness. It's a simple, direct, and straight to the point meditation there. So I don't know if that helps, Ron, if that's what you were kind of looking for with that, or any particular aspect you want me to go into.
Maybe touching on a couple. I think you also talk about maybe taking it, I know we call it a step further or not, but noticing what's permanent. What is permanent? Whether it's the space, whether it's the silence that allows the sound. It's finding first what is permanent, and kind of going at it from that direction is kind of what I found so helpful. Could you expand upon that just a little bit?
Yeah, until we've found what's permanent about ourselves, then there's not going to be, it's going to be theoretical knowledge, isn't it? It's going to be something else to think about. It's going to be mind fuel. So if we've found, at least touched upon that which is permanent and stable about ourselves, then we can begin to move a step further from there. What was then powerful for me was to begin to investigate if there really was a me who was aware of this other awareness, this greater awareness. But was there really, these two things present? Was there actually a me in this awareness, noticing awareness? So all of that then begins to shift your identity to recognition. Because when we look for that sense of I, that me that's noticing awareness, we don't actually find anything. There's only awareness when we actually look. So to firstly recognize what's real and stable, and then to begin to shift their identity from feeling like we're someone looking at the greater awareness, recognizing awareness, to a clear and simple seeing that I am that awareness. Then that's gonna really change. It's going to diminish our ability to suffer every time we see that, and it's so kind of a step-by-step process it was, firstly to recognize awareness, and then to begin to recognize that I am that it's not something I'm looking at, it's something I'm looking from.
Great, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Good question. Okay, Karen.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Well, thank you for being here today, and everybody getting together. Boy, just that answer that you had there with Ron was actually so beautiful for me. We just had a house fire last night. Okay. And so I've got insurance people, they could be coming any moment. But since last night, I noticed my mind going to phenomena a lot.
Yeah.
And I can just feel that, that certainty, that presence with me, and, what we went through last night. But I guess, like there's so many issues, that it's bringing to my face about, safety, about, cleanup, going through everything in the house, and cleaning it all. And I just wondered if you had some sharing about, doing this from presence, because obviously it's going to take a long time to clean this up.
Yeah, it's it's so something like that is going to bring up a lot of stuff, isn't it? It's going to disturb the equilibrium that we might have achieved in our practice to some degree. So if we can kind of start from that recognition that this, while we would never choose for this to happen, of course, it can be part of our satsang, part of our deepening. And the patterns that come up then, the ideas, the thoughts that come up will kind of give you a clue as to where we're still functioning in our life as a separate being, and where we can shift over to functioning as that, from that presence more. So if there's whatever ideas are coming up for you, there might be a sense of feeling, well, I'm just imagining that there might be a sense of feeling overwhelmed, that there's just too much to do and maybe things are never going to be the same again, or some kind of feeling like that. So if you can look at that and sort of see, well, is there a higher way to perceive this? So if there's a sense that there's too much to do, or whatever it is that's coming up after this aftermath, and there's lots of things to sort out, whatever is arising there, is there a higher place I can view this from? This is a really valuable thing for me, in those moments where I didn't even know how to kind of get back to that presence. It was just enough to recognize that I was coming from my mind again as a separate being. So to ask that kind of, where can this shift to? Where can I perceive this from? Is there a higher way to look at this or to deal with this? That kind of facilitated a gentle shift back into that presence. I don't know if that's helpful for you, if it's just to notice that there's something coming up from this. And it's usually something coming up where we tend to go back into a contracted place inside ourselves.
Right. Well, I think a lot of this is like future. Like my husband went to the doctor because his hands were burned and, he had other injuries. And, like she said, not to use hand sanitizer. Well, and it's not like we could stay in the house. So there's just like so many unknowns, so that my mind will go to the future and I have felt like totally supported and guided. Like, I don't know how the fire went out, but he got it out. So I just feel this presence and this perfection in it all. So it's just staying present and asking with
And not to forget that presence is going to be there, but there might also be some emotions that need to be felt. There's a large degree of uncertainty, isn't there, in this, in the future of what's going to happen now for you. And so as some part of our awakening, we could really embrace that and feel it's a positive thing only. But sometimes it's not. It's a scary thing, this uncertainty, this unknowing. So there might be, excuse me, some emotions that need to be felt as part of being that presence, just allowing something to come to the surface that's being generated by this.
Yeah, I can feel some shifts going on.
And sometimes these things come up from, you've had a double whammy, really, haven't you? You've had a threat to your physical safety, and also a threat to your kind of psychological safe place where, this is my home. This is where I like to. This is where I feel safe. This is where I come to kind of retreat from my world, type of thing. And so you've had kind of a double thing going on there, and some physical injury as well. So it might bring up these things to come to the surface.
Well, I really appreciate just the presence of everyone here, and your you can just feel that inside. It just feels so loving and cared for. It just such a blessing.
And I hope you're all okay. I hope there weren't any serious injuries. Obviously, you've mentioned some burns, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, it sounds like someone was looking after you.
Yes, yeah, I definitely felt
Yeah.
angelic presence.
There's always going to be times when we're more challenged to stay in what we know is true, and just to kind of recognize that and recognize it's okay if I have a wobble. You know, there's going to be times where it is more challenging than others, isn't it? And there's also going to be times where we can stay in that presence, but there's also a lot of emotion coming up at the same time. And whichever way it is for you right now is okay. If you can kind of, you know, the thing that we do most often is to, well, I should be able to stay as that presence all the time. And if you can't in this moment, you can't. There's an acceptance in that, you know, which will bring peace.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. We'll go to Bo. Excuse me.
Hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
Namaste, Helen.
Namaste.
I wanted to ask what your thoughts on applying devotion non-dualistically. Like how, first, if you think that has any relevance, and if so, how to do that. I have tried various things myself, and certain things have felt appropriate, other things I kind of feel a little silly, just because it's a different way of wrapping your head around it. Yeah, I just wanted to know any thoughts you might have. Thank you.
It's a good question. If we look at what devotion is, it's really another word for love, isn't it? It's really what we love more than anything. And we might first start off loving a particular teaching or a devotion to a particular teacher. For myself, the devotion kind of shifted to devotion to truth, and that is a tricky thing at first, because there's no image you can have of that, although our mind will try. What does it mean to be devoted to truth? It means to kind of always be asking if what is true about this? Is this true? It's easier as human beings to put our devotion onto something or some practice or some teaching or teacher, but in the end, the highest non-dual place is devotion to truth itself, which we can't say what that is, can we? We can't say it's this or it's that, or we can't say it's kind of literally devotion to the unseeable, unknowable in the traditional way. And devotion without an object of devotion, without something to place it upon, becomes like for me it was like a compass. If I found myself in any kind of trouble at all spiritually, I'd just ask, you know, what is truth? You know, it's kind of a recentering back to what is true, what is truth. And it wasn't a question I needed an answer from. It was just kind of a recentering, that if I'm suffering in any way at all, my attention has wandered off what's truth, and has gone to some idea or something. It's it was a handy thing for me. It wasn't the easiest because there's nowhere. It's much easier to say, oh, I love this teaching, or I love this teacher, or this practice is really doing it for me right now, or, you know, something like that. You're probably experiencing something like that at the moment, you know, where not truth is appearing as all of those, but it isn't any particular one of them. It is all of them. And there's a kind of a letting go of an image of what truth is, and the devotion wants to become kind of even more pure than that. I don't know if that's helpful, kind of.
No, it certainly is. Thank you.
Yeah. And it's even if there is a favorite teacher or book or something, you know, the compass needle can always be pointing to north, you know, to truth or whatever. To it's also one of the safest things to do, because if your devotion is to truth, whatever that is, then no teaching or teacher or anything can kind of mislead you in that. There'll be an immediate knowing inside that this isn't truth. This doesn't feel true for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very useful thing to do. I think it's where we all end up anyway. It's just it's not a comfy, cozy image, is it? The mind can say, "Oh yeah, I know what truth is."
Right.
It's kind of unknown in that way.
It's not like as tangible, I suppose. In the same way. For me, it like I have all my books here. I have that here. I have your Dissolving Ego book here. I have my puja table with the singing bowl and Ramana Maharshi, all that. But there's this common thread of truth and honoring that, and truth showing up as love in all these different ways. So I do think for myself, because I do tend to like concepts and more fixed, tangible ways of applying attention, that this kind of common thread of truth is a very useful way to kind of apply it, especially because it seems that that's already going on. I think before asking you, I might have not been like thinking in that way, but
yeah, it's having those things are really helpful. You know, I had all the same things, and you know, still even the Buddha statue, but it's what it's pointing to, what it represents, that statue, isn't it, rather than the statue itself.
Right.
And sometimes something like that to remind us of what's true.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, we have a statue of a human body that's representing the, you know, invisible, intangible field of truth. But it's fine to have all that if we can come to see that it's the essence. Those are reminding us of the essence of what those things are. You know, the divine essence of everything is the same, and that's what all of this is pointing to. And whatever helps us remember that, or kind of keep our attention on that, it is going to be useful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good, very good.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Eileen.
Hi, Helen.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. And always happens whenever I'm ready to ask a question, it feels like the person before me asks it and it gets answered, but I'll go with what I was originally going to ask anyway. I guess what I've found really helpful in you know, applying some of the listenings during satsangs and things is when you've talked about you know, as we know and become aware of, you know, our true beingness and sort of living from that place, sort of we are everyone, so that one of the things that you've talked about is when when I'm speaking to someone, it's almost a disillusion of, well, who's really speaking here? Am I the speaker or am I the person being spoken to? And just keeping my mind that like light and playful in that way. And then just this, past week or two in Satsang, when you talked about the thinking of the thoughts, and honestly, I guess I've heard it a lot, but just that, how can I be sure these thoughts are even mine? Like really, like this person is me. So the opposite of me and the person separate. I am this person. And then these thoughts, which I thought are mine, are not mine at all. So it's like that opposite way of seeing things, which for me, I don't know. It just is, that upside down triangle where I think I'm one place and so in the place I feel like I'm very much self, which thought, blow that apart. And the place I think I'm very I'm separate, really I'm one there. So I'm just wondering if you might be able to comment or expand on that, because those little practices have been very valuable for me.
And these are some of the most common assumptions, aren't they, that we have? Like, it would be very easy to assume that I'm the one talking and you're the one listening right now. It would be seemingly obvious to kind of function from that place, and that will be always how it seems to be. It'll always seem like there's someone talking right now, there's someone listening, and that those two beings are separate. But to question those assumptions, what kind of a lot of, we take for granted until that becomes too painful, and then there is a kind of what you said. I think you said light and playful is really right on the nose there. To just a light and playful curiosity. Well, how do I actually know? How do I know that I'm not the one listening? How do I know that I'm the one talking? Just because this body is talking, how do I know that I am talking? And it just begins to what's the word? It begins to open up a space, doesn't it, inside of where there's a kind of a deepening curiosity where we can just kind of go into a place where it might be very, very unfamiliar, but also hopefully quite exciting at the same time. I don't know if you've kind of experienced that.
Yeah, I guess for me, what I've experienced in doing it a lot of times recently is in situations that would typically be very intense, and where I have a position and the person, or I don't know, I'm trying to get a point across or something, and something dawns on me like, that's me talking. That's me. I have that position, or that I don't know, it just allowed it to be, it opened me up more, I guess, to inclusiveness and to a relaxation of sort of a separation, and just sort of a more more of an allowance, I guess, and more of an open-minded. It led me to more open-mindedness, and that it broke down some constraints for me that of am I going to be right or am I going to be happy? Well, I'm going to be happy because I'm in both places here, and I don't really need to worry about a certain outcome. Granted, it's not, I'm certainly not perfect at it, but it quickly dissolves things that have been sticky for me in the past, and allows me to sort of give space to places I couldn't find space in before.
Yeah, it became very obvious to me when I started to kind of question like this. I thought, I'm in this conversation, I'm trying to get my point across, and I really want to be right. There's that moment where I really, as you said, I want to be right or happy, and at that point, I want to be right. But as I started to question like this, it became very clear that it wasn't really about that at all. It was this urge to be right, or to get something across to this other being, was really a surface symptom of this root feeling that I'm separate to them. And that this, when I began to kind of question, like you were saying, am I really just here? Am I both of these beings in this conversation? What's it like when I'm perceiving, even just playing mentally with that concept that, you know, I am both sides of this conversation? Then that any strong urge or intention I had to get some point across began to melt away. And most times I could say then what I needed to, and it was done in a much more kind of way, you know, without somebody winning and somebody losing out of it. It was, I guess what I'm trying to say is that the need to have my opinion, get my points across, be the right one, you know, or to prove them wrong. That was very clearly just something going on the surface because of this division underneath. I don't know if you've begun to see that. I think you have from what you were saying, that kind of begins to melt away.
Yeah, there comes the point where it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It loses its whatever the structure that I've tried to build. So definitely. And then the other thing is with the thoughts. I just love the way you presented, you know, just, you know, everything I'm thinking. How do I even know these are mine? They're really not my thoughts. They feel so personal. But if I can just pull away a little bit, what if that's not coming from me, like the real me? It just, for me, again, created a space to allow me to say, I don't need to worry about that. You know, in something that would really, it brought me back to the present moment almost. Do I really need to worry about that? If this isn't my thought, do I even need to worry about it? It became the next step, which I don't know, it's just very freeing.
It's a world of difference in experience, isn't it? If this is my thought, and let's say that particular thought is I'm not good enough or something, you know, if it's my thought, then I'm suddenly charged with having to be better, and all that comes with that, and trying to prove that. But just this kind of simple thing of, well, what if it's just a thought happening in a head, you know, that is appearing inside me? That's a very different experience then. And same thought may arise, but two very different outcomes from that. One leads to a very more contracted place where I'm feeling very, very separate and inadequate, you know, with that particular thought. And the other one is it's just a thought, and there's no capability to believe it from when there's no separation. It's really just this idea, it's my thought, isn't it, that's making this stick to me like, you know, super glue.
So thank you. Those have been so helpful for me.
Oh, very good, very good, good. Okay, so we've 20 minutes left. It might be nice to just get comfy and relax, and we can do a short meditation just to finish off the session. So I'd like to just invite everyone, if you want to join me, just to get nice and comfy, just to relax. And we can close our eyes, or we can leave them open. It's fine entirely, whichever way you want to. And it's just going to be really nice. We're going to spend 15 minutes or so just noticing this moment, a very simple thing, just to notice this moment as it is right now, and not trying to fix anything, and we're not trying to change anything. We're just noticing this moment as it is, as it's appearing. And whatever appears inside this moment, we're going to let it come. Whatever goes, we're going to allow it to go. If there's any intentions or desires arise, we're going to allow them to arise, as if we're just watching this moment as it's unfolding. It's just a continuous unfolding. And we can just begin to notice, hopefully, it just feels quite nice to just sit and allow this moment exactly as it is right now, without trying to manage anything, without trying to change anything. And just this very simple thing, just letting go of any need to have anything happen out of this time, out of this meditation. As if our meditation is a kind of just authentic being with this moment. And if thoughts arise, we're just going to let them come. And if our attention wanders, it's fine to just let it wander completely. Just enjoying for a few moments how it feels when we're not trying to change anything about ourselves, about this moment. Recognizing that when we simply allow this moment, whatever it looks like, whatever it feels like, whatever it seems like, that naturally there's a relaxation begins to happen here. And some thoughts may arise that this isn't getting us anywhere, that we don't feel we're doing it right, or whatever our mind is saying, and we can just completely allow that. If there's any restlessness or confusion or something going on in the body, we can just allow that to happen. Just relaxing into this moment. There naturally is already a space inside our being, a spaciousness when we're just not trying to change anything at all. Whatever comes, comes. Thoughts, emotions, sensations, experiences. These words are coming and going. Just noticing this moment, this quiet moment, and whatever is arising in it. Our body is present in this moment. Our thoughts may be present, experiences. And we're just allowing this moment to be exactly how it is right now. Enjoying how it feels to just rest in this moment without any intention or need for anything to be different. So if we're feeling some emotion, we can simply feel it as much as we can. If the mind is talking, we can just let it talk completely. Just allowing this moment in its fullness. Enjoying how it feels to not be pushing against anything, get anywhere. Naturally, when we're just resting here like this, whatever needs to move will move. Thoughts may move, our emotions. Some energy may move in the body, some sound in your environment. And we're just allowing that to move. recognizing that your body naturally responds, relaxes, when we're not trying to control. There isn't anything to achieve here. There's nothing, no outcome that we need from this meditation. Just being with this moment is enough. Maybe just exploring what this moment actually is, just allowing it to happen as it happens. There is a authenticity in this moment. How it is how it is. Just relaxing, just allowing this moment. Recognizing there is another way we can be. We can simply be here with this moment. We don't need anything to be different than it is right now. We don't need our mind to stop. We don't need to feel a certain way. There is a peace, a quiet, contentment in just being here right now. Finding this quiet place inside that's already content, that's already still. Allowing whatever comes to come and whatever goes to go. Maybe we've never really just allowed this moment in its fullness. And recognizing that at any point we can just recenter, allowing this to be exactly as it is right now. This place inside where we feel already at rest. This place inside that really doesn't need anything to change. Where we're not looking for any outcome or anything to happen. Just being here in this moment. Relaxing into this moment. Enjoying how it feels to just be. We can just rest like this whenever we want to. Finding this quiet place inside. We're not trying to achieve anything at all. What does it feel like to just allow this moment? We don't have to always be traveling somewhere, reaching or pushing against. We can just be. The more times that we simply rest in this moment, the easier and easier it is to come back here whenever we need to, whenever we want to. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining me in this session. And I look forward to next time.